Thanks for still willing to do this.
Yeah, sure. Sure thing. I'm sorry that I was a little bit late. Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay.
Executive dysfunction is a hell of a bitch.
So I can just before getting to the Yoimiya questions, I can jump around in terms of roles in your career and uh, how you got started and everything.
Sure,
Um,
absolutely.
so I can start from the beginning. Is it accurate that you started with modeling first?
Yeah, weirdly enough. Yeah, I growing up, if you would have told me that, I would have never believed you. And honestly, even now, I don't really believe it that the way that the like first like industry experience that I got was like sort of modeling here and there. But yeah, weird stuff. But yes.
So what was your first paid acting job then?
Oh boy, I think my first paid acting job was actually it was like I made like $50. It was some local production from when I was growing up in Nevada and I got like fake baptized for it. It was for some church promotional video or something. It was a church that I did not go to, have never gone to. And then they were like, does anyone want to make an extra $20 if you get fake baptized? We're just gonna pour some water on your head real quick and wrap you in a towel. And I was like, I'm 17 and want money. So yeah, I'll do.
And how did you get into SAG then once you were in LA?
It took a while because I was sort of bouncing around doing various on-camera things for a while, not really finding any success. SAG really felt like a pipe dream for a really long time. And then I eventually, when I first started out in voiceover, I ended up getting very lucky and getting a foot in the door over at Abrams, which is now A3. And I booked a game called XCOM Chimera Squad,
Yep.
and that was SAG. It was like after maybe a few months being with them, and they told me that I booked it, and I got Taft-Hartley into the union, and that was my first one. And then I forget what my second job was, but the third or fourth job that made me like become a must join was when I voiced a little girl on the bento box show, the people who make Bob's Burgers. They make a
Okay.
show in Central Park, and that was the one that made me a must join.
And was there a specific um, incident that happened when you were doing on camera that made you want to pursue voiceover?
I hated it. I
Yeah.
hated it. I hated it so much. The thing that made me really realize that I hated on camera more than anything was I was a tour guide at Universal Studios Hollywood, and I would have a lot of fun with the job, except for when I was on camera, which was a lot of the time. And I remember just getting like so nervous and feeling just sick to my stomach every time I would have to press the button to turn the camera back on. And that I really enjoyed the job when I was able to do it off camera. But whenever I had to turn the camera back on, I just felt so nauseated and so anxious and self-conscious. And it just made me so worried. And then when I realized that I didn't have to be on camera at all, it was like an epiphany. It was like, oh, then I'm never going to do that again. Cool. Then I'm just going to do voiceover. I'm going to act and I'm going to do what I want. And it's going to be great.
Right. Yeah. And was your goal with voiceover to just do anything, or were you trying to pursue anime or?
Honestly, the big dream for me ever since I was a kid with acting, the biggest dream was always to be in Pokemon. And I got to achieve that
Yeah.
last year. I played a little boy named Horace in Pokemon Journeys. And that's still the goal is I just want to be in as many Pokemon projects as possible. But yeah, I think it was like I was working really hard for a really long time. And I mean, obviously I still am,
Right.
but to the point where like I would be awake for like 48 hours straight just working and like driving all over Los Angeles and working with pyrotechnics and managing like candy museums and sleeping in my car and in between shifts in order to like get any amount of sleep. And I was making very little money. And so I think um I came at voice acting from a very practical standpoint where it was like, I would like to make enough money to live and not have to devote every minute of my day to like back-breaking labor. And so I think that was my main goal. That and like also just, I remember for a while I stopped acting because I thought it was impractical and it was making me miserable. But that's when I was doing on camera and my soul just like hurt. And so it was like, this is not a practical solution for me. Like I have to act. Like it feels like something is missing from my life when I'm not acting. And so I'm gonna try and I need to do this for myself. And so it was to marry the two worlds of satisfying my innate need to act while also making it so that I could put food on my table.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, Pokemon has always been my really big goal, just to be in as much of that as possible. And yeah, I mean, another big goal of mine is to be on Nickelodeon and Disney Channel, obviously. Just I feel like those are not the most interesting answers in the world, but those are definitely some big goals for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's all right. And I didn't want to ask about the pyro job and how you got involved in that.
Sure thing. Yeah. I mean, it's a hell of a thing to have on a resume, especially as an actor,
Right.
especially as Yoimiya's actor.
Yeah.
Let's see. I got started in pyrotechnics when I was 19 years old, fresh college dropout, and I was alone and scared in the world of Los Angeles, and I was applying for jobs all over, and I just was not getting any calls back no matter where I applied. And I was so down in my spirits, and I was just like, oh man, like I'm a college dropout, like I can't even get a job like as a hostess at a waitress or anything, like or like at a restaurant, like no one's calling me back, like what the hell am I going to do? And then finally I got a call back from a place that I applied to, which was Universal Studios Hollywood, and I applied there just on a complete whim. And they called me and they were like, hey, yeah, we're interested in you coming in and interviewing for just like a general interview. And I was like, okay, great. And so I go in, just eager little 19-year-old Jenny Yokobori, wearing my little business casual interview outfit. And they were like, okay, cool. So we're currently interviewing for two different positions, for parking attendant and show crew. Which one are you more interested in? And I was like, well, I was going to school for acting. And so like I've been around like theater and stuff my entire life. So I said like show crew. Also, I just didn't want to be a parking attendant. Right. And so, and they're like, okay, cool. So as show crew, you would have to work with pyrotechnics. Is that something that you would be comfortable with? And I'm like, in my head, I was just screaming like, no, I'm a scared little dumb kid. I'm like some like weird little kid from Nevada. I don't know anything about that. But the answer that came out was, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. And so then I ended up getting the job, obviously, and I got thrown into the deep end, and I learned about pyrotechnics, and I started working with fireworks, and I was just like, oh, this kicks ass. Oh, this is the best. I love this. And so it, like, I wanted more of it. And so then I ended up like asking the special effects technicians around the park and being like, hey, do you know of any like any other jobs, any pyrotechnics, like any pyrotechnicians, or like, do you need extra hand for the show that you're working? And one of them took me up on it, and his name was Eric, and he let me join his crew over at the Hollywood Bowl. And so I got to work a bunch of really cool shows there. I got to do pyrotechnics for the Muppets and Black Sabbath, and install stuff for Bruno Mars and like the Little Mermaid live, and I got to meet like John Stamos backstage. It was awesome. And I was working with like the heavy duty stuff, because at Universal there's like a couple of like bigger effects, but most of them are like flame pots, and so we don't really install those. That's just like propane and then like big plumes of like fire. Other stuff like that's like really small scale pyrotechnics. And but at Hollywood Bowl it was the big boys. It was like the giant like shells that were like get shooting into the sky and like take up a lot of real estate. And so I was working with just like, yeah, it was in the big leagues all of a sudden, and it was nerve-wracking, but it was so fun. I have very fond memories of being on the roof of the Hollywood Bowl, slathered in sunscreen, and wearing like protective glasses and like wiring in the fireworks and everything, and being like, I hope I don't get blown up, but probably not. But you know. But yeah, lots of fun memories of spending summers just like covered in like gunpowder and fiberglass and like just installing fireworks. And it was pun and fully intended. It was a blast.
Did you ever get daunted with how with the whole danger of it?
It's honestly pyrotechnics. It's really more about, once you are knowledgeable about what you're working with, it becomes more about like having a respect for it rather than having a fear. Because if you're afraid of it, then it's just going to like, you're going to get in your head, and you're going to like, honestly, that's how mistakes get made. But if you have a respect for it, being like, okay, it's completely safe as long as I'm completely safe, And so you just follow like the basic protocols, like don't like run it against the ground. Like there will often be like just cardboard boxes full of fireworks, and people often like new people will often want to like push it instead of pick it up and carry it because it's less heavy. But you can't do that because friction will build up, and it's possible from the like the static electricity in there for all the fireworks to go off because they're triggered by electricity. And so it's just stuff like that, and like being aware that like you have an explosive in your hand, and so you have to like be aware of that and like have your situational awareness just be on high alert at all times. And so I think when I first started I was definitely afraid because I mean like yeah, it's explosive, but later on it was purely just like okay, like it's having confidence in yourself and having confidence in the manufacturers and confidence in your coworkers.
Yeah.
And I think it made me a stronger person overall. Yeah.
So moving back to voiceover, I know early on, of course, you got the 2 roles in Fire Emblem Heroes. Do you think you have more affinity with one over the other, like Elise or Eleonora?
Oh man, I always think I have an answer, but then like I start thinking about it and I'm like, no, it's Elise, no, it's Eleanor, no, it's this. I genuinely have no idea. It's like asking me to pick like what I imagine as like picking a favorite kid. It's like I have such strong like just strong connection to both of them, and I love them for different reasons, and I love them for different reasons. Just yeah, it's just I don't think I have a stronger connection to either one of them. They're just both so fun, and I feel very humbled and honored that I get to voice them.
And how involved of a process was it to be on this or get the role on The Simpsons?
It was, let's see, The Simpsons, it was wild. I think I might have auditioned for it twice, but I auditioned for it the first time and didn't hear anything, and then I auditioned for it a second time. And then like 6 days later, I got an email from my agent being like, hey, you booked it. And I was like, what? No, I didn't. No, that doesn't make sense. No, you sent this to the wrong person. And then I ran around and started screaming and crying because it was like my life changed. I was suddenly not just some kid, I was some kid on The Simpsons.
Right.
Then I had like a small like existential break, worked down like, oh god, my voice is going to be next to like Hank Azaria's. Oh god, what am I going to do?
Or the doing the recording for that show?
I mean, it's the coolest thing ever. It's such an honor because I get to record on the Fox lot, which is really, really cool because I drive past all these sound stages and like the sets that I've seen in like countless movies. And I feel very fancy because I get to go to a big sound stage, and like there's even like a sound stage that's just painted like The Simpsons. So that's always like an ego boost. I'm really looking forward to when COVID is more under control because the Simpsons table reads are like famous for just being like the coolest experiences ever because it's like the best voice actors in the biz, and then I'm gonna be there too. I don't think I'm one of the best voice actors in the biz, but I'll be there.
Yeah.
And then like there's the guest stars that the show gets are incredible. Like they're all legends. Like I think Victor Garber is in the most recent episode, and like I've been in episodes with Dan Aykroyd and J.J. Abrams. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just being in a room with those people and like acting alongside them and like hearing their process is going to be really, really incredible. And I just want COVID to stop for multiple reasons, obviously, but also for my own selfish reason. I really want to be able to watch them work.
Was that before or after Hello Kitty?
Oh boy. Oh man, I have the world's worst memory. See, I booked Hello Kitty. I think it was after I booked The Simpsons, actually.
Okay.
But Hello Kitty was announced before. So I got to talk about being Kuromi before I got to talk about being on The Simpsons. Yeah, I was sitting on The Simpsons for almost a year, just being like, what am I going to do when it's announced? So I'm grateful that I did get a nice little window for me to be like mentally prepare myself. It's like, okay, it's coming. You can't run from it. But yeah, I love back on the subject of Hello Kitty. I love being on that show. I have like Cinnamoroll right here on my desk at all times. He's always sitting here hanging out with me. And same with Kuromi. I have a little like pop socket of her.
Yeah, that's good.
I love them so much. It's such an honor to voice these characters because I like, as a half Japanese woman growing up in America, like Hello Kitty was one of the like first, like Japanese things that I was exposed to as a kid. And so the fact that I'm a part of the Sanrio brand is unbelievable.
Right, yeah. Was that equally involved as a process to get those roles too?
I don't know how much I can say, but I will say the process wasn't too lengthy, but it was like I was on pins and needles for both roles when I auditioned for them, because I remember sending out my auditions and just constantly checking my inbox until I finally got an email back and being like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, someone write me back, someone write me back.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, it's just praying that someone would write me and I would see booking in the subject line.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, and it kicked ass. And I was like, did a little happy dance.
Right, yeah. And I know you mentioned before, and I've seen in other credits that you've gotten to do voices. I always like to ask voice actresses if they have a specific process for that, or does it just depend on the character for you?
There's a couple different ways that I get into character, because it depends on the boy, first of all, because Cinnamoroll, a lot of people don't know this, but he's a boy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little guy. And so for Cinnamoroll, I just kind of like, my process for him is literally just to like make myself like as small as possible and get very meek. And I actually do this motion the entire time I usually record for Cinnamoroll, like whenever I say his lines.
Okay.
It's about getting the physicality down for him. But then someone like Horace in Pokemon Journeys is like totally different, because he's still kind of shy and everything, but he's still got a nice little amount of spunk. And so Tony Oliver, who is wonderful, he's one of my favorite teachers that I've ever learned from. And his approach for voicing little boys is that he said that little boys always sound like they're mad at something even when they're not. And so you just have to be like very aggressive with them. Like even when they're completely calm, there's always like a little bit of a bite to them. And I've used that, and that's served me very well.
I was just going to ask, what is the case where you've had to alter your voice the most so far for a role?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it's actually for one of my lesser known roles. Actually, I'd be surprised if anyone knows about this role besides me and like the people who work at the studio. It's for this show called Ubu and the Little Owls. It's a dub of a Brazilian preschool show. And I play the baby sister. Her name is Bonnie. She's a little pink owl, and she is like just hatched from her egg. So she always has her little like egg around her. And that's like the highest I think I can go in my register.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's I think that's probably the most drastic one, where it's like if anyone heard that out of context, they would never guess that was me, because she's just like, she sounds like an E string constantly. That, and like she has her own little way of talking too, is that every syllable starts with a B. And so instead of the line like, oh, Bonnie won't go, she would say Bonnie won't bow.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's the speech pattern that took adapting to, and the super, super high voice. So I think probably her. Because I haven't had to go super, super low for a character yet. I want to. That'd be really fun.
It's cool with your role in Akudama Drive, because you wouldn't think that that's you necessarily.
Yeah. That's always my favorite thing, is that I do try really hard to make all my characters very, very different from each other. And so that's always my favorite thing. Whenever someone's like, yeah, I watched that show and I didn't know that was you.
Yeah.
It's like, hell yeah. Oh, another character that's very different from my voice. I think Bonnie still is the most different, but Jade in Rainbow High, she has a little bit more of a gruff voice. I've added sort of like texture to it. And yeah, same thing. Like my high school drama teacher watched the show and she was like, I watched every episode and I keep trying to listen for your voice and I can't hear it in Jade no matter how hard I try. And I'm like, well, I promise it's me. I have the files on my computer. Like I can do it live if you want me to. It's me.
Yeah. Yeah, because I did talk to Christian Banas a little while ago, and he was talking about how fun of a experience that was.
I love directing Christian because he and I are such good friends that it's like we have such a natural rapport at this point that we have very like it's very convenient shorthand at this point where I'm just sort of like, oh, Christian, like just do this, and it'll be like a one word thing, and it'd be like something that like both of us just sort of understand and be like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I got it, and just immediately do it.
Yeah.
Like it'll be something like I'm like, oh, channel this person from our lives, and he's like, gotcha, cool.
Yeah, that's cool. And on the topic of roles like Akudama Drive, do you have a preference for doing more darker, intense characters like that?
I don't know. I think I actually have the opposite. I really enjoy being like really light and bubbly and funny, just really silly characters. I think that's usually my favorite. I do tend to get cast a lot as darker characters. Even in Hello Kitty, like I'm cast as Kuromi and she has a little skull in her hat.
Yeah.
The little goth girl of the Sanrio bunch. But yeah, I don't know. I really prefer being silly and goofy and over the top and just completely bizarre. But also I definitely do love playing drama too, like Akudama Drive. Like I loved being able to like really, really dig my teeth into being pupil and like accessing some like real primal emotions and really just getting knee deep into like the storyline and everything. It's really, really just challenging and fun and fulfilling as an actor. But I think, yeah, as a like overall preference, I definitely think like funny or silly and cartoony is usually that's where I want to live.
Yeah.
My favorite is creatures though. I love being creatures. One of my favorite projects I've ever gotten to work on was Demon Souls, the remaster for the PS5.
Okay. Yeah.
I play a big black blob named the Phalanx. She's one of the first bosses. And I didn't say a single word that entire session. It was just screeching and guttural like growls and snarls and just nasty noises. And it was just, I love that kind of stuff. It's so much fun.
Mm-hmm. And what are your thoughts on in your role in Eden Zero?
Oh, I love her. I love Xiaomei. Oh, she's so much fun. I'm really, really excited for the next batch of episodes to drop because there's some really, really great Xiaomei stuff that I got to play with. And yeah, she's a blast. She's so mysterious and aloof, and she's a little shit, and I love her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love, Eden Zero is such a great show to work on.
It was cool to see that you're part of 86 too.
Oh, I love that show. Just speaking of a dark show, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was a very dramatic show, especially my role. I don't want to like give too much away spoilers wise, but yeah, it definitely is a very like emotionally intense show, especially for acting wise, where it's like you'll be like, oh hey, how you doing, how are your kids, yeah, let's do this session, and they're like, cool, now start sobbing, and I'm like, cool, let's do it.
Yeah.
Turn that switch right on. Okay.
Do you have a particular process for getting out of a headspace like that for voiceover?
I think I've been acting long enough at this point where I think it's something that comes with practice a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Where I've been acting long enough and I studied acting and am still studying acting, where it's like it's just something that you have to get used to, where it's like you're able to just sort of snap yourself out of that headspace and really just separate the two.
Mm-hmm.
I really try never to go method for my acting because I think it's just sort of like a slippery slope. It's just not something that I prefer, and that's kind of like how I have to have it too, where it's just like it's the separation of like, okay, turn on the acting muscle, turn off the acting muscle, and then just walk away.
All right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think for anime so far that the most emotionally involved role would be 86?
Oh, 86 is really intense. But I think probably the most emotionally involved one is Pupil in Akudama Drive.
Okay, yeah.
She goes through such a big arc and she just experiences so much within the span of the season that I think she definitely had the most highs and lows. I had to really like drop in, and there were like so many times where I'd be on the call with Brittany Lotta, who plays Doctor, as well as she was the director of the dub, where I'd just be like, no, I have to go again. Like, I really want to tell her story the best way that I possibly can. Let me go again. It's not there yet. And Brittany would be like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I was gonna say at the beginning, congrats on getting a One Piece.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Wanda's another character that I just very yeah. I love silly, goofy characters, but yeah, Wanda's another one that's like very intense, has like dark past and everything.
Mm. Yeah.
I love her though. I love playing Wanda.
Getting to the Genshin topic, what's your personal story of how you got involved with the game?
Well, the game was announced and all my friends started announcing their roles and everything. And I got a little bit of FOMO, honestly. I was like, all my friends are in this game. And I'm like, I want to be in this game. And then I like started playing the game. I'm like, well, I want to support my friends and I want to hear my friends' voices as these cool characters. They look all cool and they sound cool and the things that I've seen. And I started playing it. I was like, oh, I love this. Oh no, this game is dangerous. I am thoroughly involved with it. And so then I just started like playing as much as I possibly could. And I was like, spent days like grinding so I could get up to the right AR so my friends could come to my world and help me with stuff. Because I got stuck on the Dada Upa Gorge quest line for a little bit. And
Yeah.
Chris, Corey, and Christian had to come help me out. And then I just kept auditioning for it. And I was like, oh, I really want to be in this game. Like all my friends are in it. And this game is beautiful and the world is beautiful and the characters are so vibrant and interesting and like the fans are so passionate. Like I just kept auditioning and being like, oh man, I really like want to, like I want to book it, and I would just pour my heart and soul into every read that I would do. And then finally Yoimiya came across and it fit like a glove. And sure enough, a little bit later I got an email being like, hey, you booked Yoimiya. And at first I didn't know who that was because they used fake names for the characters. And I was like, who is that? And then I like realized which of the girls she was. And I was like, oh, and it was just a joy. And it's been a joy ever since. I love the Genshin community and I love the game and I love Yoimiya. It's such an honor.
Mm-hmm. Single highest rated question was, how do you relate to her the most outside of the pyro background?
I relate to her just in so many different aspects. Me and Yoimiya are strikingly similar, even down to the lactose intolerance. Like when I was recording that line for her least favorite food, and they were like, she was like, "Oh yeah, milk never fails to set up fireworks in my stomach." I like stopped it. And I was like, "Do you guys know that I'm lactose intolerant?" And they're like, "What? You're kidding me?" And I'm like, "No, I'm lactose intolerant too." But yeah, me and Yoimiya are really similar. Because I grew up taking care of my dad too. My dad was disabled. He had Alzheimer's. He wasn't deaf, so her relationship with her father really hits home for me, because how she takes on the caretaker role and also just sort of the best friend, and how her dad doesn't always fully understand her, but he is there as like a supportive force in her life. Like that hits very close to home and means a lot to me. Her entire story quest with her just talking about how communication is so important and how like misunderstandings are just so unnecessary, and like communication is just the key to unlocking so many of life's problems. It felt like I wrote it. Like, I scream about that kind of stuff constantly, and that is like, I don't know, like that's like my motto, is that communication is key in life. And so when I was reading that part of the script, I'm like, this is just about me. This is crazy. We're both very bubbly people, so that was really fun to play, because I got to sort of like give into my more bubbly side that normally I don't get to play bubbly characters, and so it was really exciting. Mm-hmm. Normally I play a very serious character, so playing a bubbly character for a change was a blast. She loves hanging out with kids, and I'm the same way. I have 3 nieces and I love them so much. They're my pride and joy. When people like ask me like, oh, what's your favorite role? And I'm like, my favorite role is being an aunt. I love it. I love my nieces so much. Hanging out with them is the coolest thing in the world. And like I used to be a babysitter, and so just like I've always just had a very natural rapport with children, and it's just so much fun just like kicking it with them and like sort of just sitting there and sort of experiencing their little imaginary world and where their mind goes, because it's fascinating and so beautiful. And so Yoimiya always like hanging out and like just playing with the kids, that always hits home, because growing up, whenever like I was never really like part of like the cool kids in my family. I would always end up hanging with like the 4-year-olds, even when I was like 10, and they were like, go look after the little kids. And I was like, no problem. Endless things that I have in common with Yoimiya. It's astounding. It feels like they base the character off of me sometimes.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Even considering that, has there been any was there any difficulty with playing her or no?
Yes. Her lines are very verbose and wordy. And so it was hard to do them in one breath, like it's often necessary to do in voice acting.
Yeah.
And so that would be hard. And then also, I have a bad habit of sometimes stumbling over my words. And so I would like get into a good groove, like with saying one of her lines, and I would be like, I would feel it and everything. And then I would slur my speech and I'm like, no, and it'd be like firework, whatever. And I'm like, dang it, let's go again.
Hmm.
They'd be like, it's okay, let's just pick up that one line. I'm like, no, I can do it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And do you have as the role started progressing, did you have a default line to just get into character with her right away?
Are for now, but friends are forever.
Yeah. Somebody asked what your favorite character interactions with her are and other main characters.
Oh, there's so many. I love her little like how much she wants to like be friends with Sayu
Oh
and how
yeah.
Sayu wants nothing to do with her. Because she was like, I want like she's so worried about Sayu. She's like, she doesn't play with the other kids. Like she always looks so sad. Like I want to take her to a festival. And I was talking about that with Lily, and Lily started like cracking up, and she was like, that's so funny because Sayu hates her. And she's saying that like she's such like a nuisance and she's always trying to get away from her. I'm like, that's incredible. I'm obsessed with that. I love her friendship with Toma. Let's see. I love that she's just sort of like this like perky little like Tinkerbell character in Beto's life, where Beto's like a very serious like pirate queen, and then Yoimiya is like, hey, bring these to Liwa. And she was like, okay. I love her relationship with her dad, and I'm waiting. I want there to be a scene between her and Taramaru because I'm obsessed with him. I'm obsessed with Taramaru. When they announced him during the stream, I'm like, who is that? When's his banner? I want that's my new main. I love Yoimiya, but I want to play the puppy.
Yeah. So who would you play if you weren't Yoimiya? Or who would you want to play?
It's so funny because the character that like I would always like look at where I'm like, oh, if I could play any character, this is before I was even in Genshin, where I was like, oh yeah, if I could play any character, I would want to play Klee.
Okay.
And so it's even funnier that I got cast as Yoimiya because she sometimes feels like grown up Klee.
Mm-hmm. Somebody asked, what would you like to see in terms of her like character arc and lore happen?
I want to see what it's like when Yoimiya gets angry. I would like to see that. And then I don't know. There's so much that I'd like to see out of her. I just want to see more Yoimiya content because I think she's so precious. And also I just love working as her for my own selfish reasons. But I don't know. I'd love to see her actually like have a full conversation with Sayu. I think that'd be really cute because I also just love Sayu. My ultimate pipe dream is that her and Klee get to meet. That is like my ultimate pipe dream, where like her and Klee get to meet, and Yoimiya like teaches her new tricks about making fireworks, and Klee shows her how to make waterproof bombs, and it's just the cutest, most wholesome interaction ever about arson.
Yeah.
And so I think that's my big dream, and also yeah, I want her to be best friends with Taramaru.
Okay.
And I'd love to see more interactions between her and Toma.
Mm-hmm.
Also between her and I don't know, I just want to see her interact more with like people around Inazuma in general. I'd love to see more stuff between her and Ito, like because one of her character lines is talking about how she's always like doing competitions with him,
Right. Yeah.
where it's like they like race each other to see who can like drink the most ramen at like the quickest and things like that. And I'm like, I would love to play out one of those scenes. Like that would be so much fun, just like bickering at each other.
Mm-hmm. There were several people that they're not questions, but there were just several people that said that they switched the voice to English specifically for her.
Oh, that's so nice. Thanks, you guys. That really means a lot.
There's a similar related question that ever since you've been playing her, how has it affected you in your real life?
I mean, it's been crazy. I went from having like 5,000 followers to like something like 15,000 like in 2 days or something like that. It was really, really overwhelming. And I've just gotten a lot of support and love. Like people have been so nice to me. I feel extremely fortunate. Like the support and outpouring of love from the Genshin fan community has been really, really touching. And I get like the most lovely tweets sent to me where it's like, oh yeah, like Yoimiya has become like my comfort character, like listening to her say pew 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 like makes my day better, just things like that, where it's really, really flattering. And I feel very blessed that my work is able to make someone else's day brighter, because that was always sort of something that I loved about acting. Even when I was a little kid, like I wanted to get into acting as a child because I thought it was magical, the way that these people could play pretend and then it would make you feel different.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so cool. I always really looked up to Jim Carrey because I thought it was so cool that he could just do something and it would make me laugh and make me feel happier. And so I wanted to do that. And so I thought it was like really, really like close to magic, the way that you were able to affect people's day and make their day a little bit better and make them happier. And so the fact that I'm able to do that now, and like my work means something to people, and it may be like a little bit easier to get through a bad day, it really, really means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel unbelievably fortunate and lucky that I get to do this, and that that people have found like value and comfort in my performance as Yoimiya.
Mm-hmm. And there were several people just asked, and this is like obvious question, but do you main her in the game, or?
Yes. She never leaves my team. Think about taking her off and I'm like, no, I can never do that to my daughter. No, I can't do that. I can't bench her. No, that's my sweet girl.
Yeah.
She'll be so scared in the void. What if the others start picking on her? What if D-Luke's mean to her?
Yeah, I think that was mostly everything was covered from the Yoimiya sub. Is there anything that you want to say to them?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jenny Yokobori, and thank you so much for being so nice to me and for loving Yoimiya as much as I love her. And thank you for supporting me. And be nice to each other. Be nice to people. There's a lot of really mean people in the world, and there's no reason to do that. So just be nice to each other and try and make someone's day a little bit brighter.
So outside of what you had mentioned already, is there anything else upcoming that you can safely talk about, or?
I mean, I'm going to be at Anime Impulse, the convention in January, which I'm really excited about. I'm so thrilled about that. It's gonna be my first in-person convention.
Okay.
So come see me in January. I'm gonna be doing a Streamily signing soon, and I'll talk about this. This is a fun little exclusive. I'm doing a holiday Yoimiya print. And it's gonna be like a little like Christmassy Yoimiya thing, and it's really, really cute. And that should be coming out soon. And I cannot wait to reveal that on Twitter. And so I'm gonna be putting that up on my Streamily store for the holidays. And I look forward to it because I'm really looking forward to it. Anime Impulse filmed a really cool video that's going to be released soon with a bunch of different voice actors from Genshin and from other really great properties, and so keep an eye out for that. And please give money to the Alzheimer's Association, because that's a cause that's very near and dear to my heart. Or HFC, which is Seth Rogen's charity, which is also for Alzheimer's. It's HFC stands for Hilarity for Charity, and that's a cause very near and dear to my heart because Alzheimer's was actually what took my father, but it's a terrible disease that affects a lot of people and a lot of families all over the world. And so if you are in a position to give, please give there, because it's a really wonderful cause.
So normally the way that I end every interview I do is asking, what do you want your legacy to be? But I know that your career just started, and if you have an answer for that.
That's a good question. Oh boy. My legacy. I want to be known as someone who brought a little bit more happiness to the world. That would be great. And someone who helped amplify voices that needed to be amplified, because that's something I try and do as a casting director a lot, is that I try and help people get a foot up in their career and try and find marginalized actors who haven't been given a shot yet and try to boost them up. But mostly just I want to make the world a little bit better than I left it.
But thanks. I'm glad that we finally got to do this.
Yeah, same. Thank you so much for being patient with me.
Oh yeah, no problem. I know that the sub will really be excited to finally see it. So
I'm excited for them to see it too.
Well, thanks.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks, Chris.